Hi everyone, I'm back with another video from the Season 26 PTR, this time talking about the Invoker changes for the Crusader. So in case you haven't seen it, Invoker has received an update on the 6-piece set bonus, and then it can now deal false damage to more than one target hit at a time. So previously the way this build worked is that you used Punish, which is a single target generator ability, and you try to find Diablo elites and click them to death and move on to the next Diablo elite and rinse and repeat, because he had absolutely zero AoE damage potential and arrow damage didn't work. So this was literally the way to play this build, which is obviously pretty stupid. And there was also a second version of this, which actually included Bombardment, similar to the Akan Invoker Bombardment build. That is actually the strongest build on Crusader right now, but simply without the Akan bonus. So it was simply a much weaker Bombardment build if you played that version, which seemed to be pretty much exactly even with this left-click yellows to death build. And here we are, now you can actually deal AoE damage by using the slash ability instead of punish. Now the AoE of this ability is not exactly very big, so you can actually see these little like yellow beams coming out from all directions on my character. This is this slash combined with the Omni Slash belt. Omni Slash is a belt that says that slash will hit in all directions around you. Here it looks like the animation goes in 4 directions, but I think it's actually a circle around you. At least from a little bit of testing that I've done, it looks like it's just a 360-degree arc. So the animation doesn't really properly show it, but this is how that works. And now you can essentially run into the middle, mostly on Diablo elites or other elites, and try to left click them to death, while you also get a bit of other damage in on the surrounding targets. So I think it's an okay build now in terms of power level. It's not going to be anything super fancy the way it is right now, so it would definitely need some buffs. It is supposed to be some top tier build. It would probably place somewhere solid in like an A tier solo pushing build. But Crusader already has a lot of other good builds, like the Akan Bombardment, like the Valor, like the LOD Bombardment, and you don't really need a significantly weaker build than those to be added to the arsenal the Crusader has. So it doesn't really have much of a point to have this buff in the game right now, because it won't really see much meta use at least. And I still believe that something should change about this set in terms of gameplay. The thing is, if you want to attack very fast and stand still as much as possible for your Endless Walk, there's already a build for that on the Crusader. It's called Sweep, and with Roland set. And essentially this feels exactly like Sweep, just with a bit better single target damage and with a smaller AoE, and it's a bit squishier. So this is essentially the summary of this. And I think this left-clicking enemies to death is a bit boring. So it shouldn't just be buffed, it should also be tweaked in terms of the mechanics a little bit. I believe that here on the Invoker set, similar to the Firebird set, there's actually a pretty unique opportunity to make any kind of balance between the Punish and the Slash abilities, or potentially even other generator skills on the Crusader, to give them their own identity and their own use cases for the set, so that maybe even have like a combo between the two. So that, for example, in an AoE scenario like here, when you're surrounded by enemies, you use the slash more to actually deal damage to the trash monsters. And then maybe as the density thins out, you want to start using punish more on the elites so that you get extra damage in, because maybe it has a higher value or some more attack speed. Or maybe using slash on many targets gives you a buff for your next use of punish that makes it super powerful. I don't know, something like that, to where there's a bit of a dynamic in the gameplay. Because right now you literally do nothing besides face rolling your defensive cooldowns in the middle of the pool and hoping that you won't die on the process. That also brings me to my next point, which is the toughness. So if there was any kind of reason to include 2 different generators into this build, then this set would definitely need more toughness. So right now, the way that is played is with Iron Skin and Crimson with Laws of Valor, with the Unstoppable rune, which gives you extra resource cost reduction. So you actually have almost all the toughness that you can get on a Crusader in this build. and it still feels just barely okay, I would say. And this is with like 5 or 6 attacks per second and lots of life per hit and some other, defensive shenanigans going on. So it is definitely not feeling super comfortable at this level, but I'm also still fairly low level in my character. It is manageable, and the low toughness is essentially the only exciting part about the whole setup right now, because otherwise you wouldn't really do much. But if you have to drop, let's say, one of the defensive buffs like the Laws of Valor, and suddenly you take twice the amount of damage, then you definitely have to include some more toughness here, or else this is gonna be almost unplayable. I did try this build with the Norvald's version, so this is actually slightly stronger and also the preferred setup for speed farming of this, where you replace the Pig Sticker and the Akarat's Awakening Shield with the Norvald set. Even though it was nerfed, it is still slightly ahead, at least on the higher end, once you can survive without the cooldowning resets that you get from the shield. At my Paragon level, that was kind of doable, at least on Greater Rift tiers, where I was still destroying elites pretty quickly, so up to like 120 or so. Playing Norvald was totally fine, and it was definitely a more powerful setup. But then I started dying as my progression through the rift slowed down, because I was simply not able to survive long fights against many elites. So later on at higher Paragon levels, like beyond 3k, 4k or something like this, I believe we're still gonna see Norvalds being used. Luckily for this build, the Rift Guardian fights are actually fairly good, which makes sense because it has very tiny AoE, very high attack speed, so it naturally synergizes with dealing damage to Rift Guardians because of Stricken, and they melt rather quickly. Just the fact that you don't really get a lot of blocks which are needed to reset your defensive cooldowns can make some of them pretty tough, like Voracity here, which eventually just killed me with the gas clouds a couple times. But not every Rift Guardian is as bad as this. So at least the Rift Guardian fights are good on this build, and there's nothing really to worry about. And with any kind of potential change that would make Punish worth using as like a single target finisher or something like that, we would potentially see even faster Rift Guardian kills, and Invoker could potentially even become a pretty solid 150 4-man Rift Guardian killer that might be included in the 4-man meta. I've also tried out this build in the new Echoing Nightmare system, and I've done 3 runs, and all of these were actually successful wave 150 clears, which right now is the cap for the rewards. Wasn't exactly fast and really smooth, but also doable, so it seems like, at least for this, it's already strong enough. But as I said, I think that at the current power level, it's not good enough to really be competitive and hype. And it's also not exactly super exciting, because as you see here, you don't really do much. Yet again, you just try to stand there, try to hit as many targets as possible and smash your buttons. These are my 2 cents. So in short, I think the build is overall in a pretty solid state, but not really strong enough and also not really fun enough. So especially the fact that Punish and Slash are not used together in some way really bothers me, and I would really like to see some kind of combo between the 2 skills that make for some exciting like back and forth and like some exciting dynamic gameplay. If you have any ideas what that could be for the devs, maybe you can write some comments here and give some feedback. And I'm personally excited to see if there's going to be any big update to Invoker in the first PTR patch on Thursday. So this is what I have to share here for now for the Invoker. Let me know what you think, let me know if you have any ideas, and obviously, see you guys next time.